This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Former conductor awarded millions for injuries after JUTC driver hits pothole. The Supreme Court has ruled that the state-owned bus entity Jamaica Urban Transit Company should pay more than $18 million to former conductor Joy Murray for injuries suffered on the job in 2002. Murray's lawyer Andrea Walter Isaacs told the court that her client was assigned to collect fares on a Torino motor bus driven along Halfway Tree Road by Christopher Morris on the morning of December 31, 2002, when it turned onto Balmoral Avenue and then Skiba Avenue at high speed. The court heard that the vehicle plunged into one of several potholes that riddled the roadway, causing Murray to be thrown from her seat. She sustained the injuries as a result of the impact. The claimant contended that she sustained injuries to her spine, back, and legs, which adversely affected her ability to work. However, defense lawyer Sue Ann Williams, instructed by Lightburn and Hamilton, argued that one of the expert witnesses, Dr. Warren Blake, had made it clear that the whole person disability suffered was not entirely caused by the accident, pointing out that degenerative changes were age-related and would have existed prior to any injury sustained. Murray had sought damages for pain and suffering, as well as loss of amenities, and outlined a range of treatments she had undergone over the years. Those interventions included physiotherapy, steroid injections, and surgery. As a result of the ongoing pain she has experienced since being injured, the former conductress has been unable to seek or obtain employment. The judge, in handing down her ruling, noted that it was the general consensus of at least 4 medical specialists who examined and treated the claimant that she suffered a very serious and traumatic injury, the effects of which were entirely in keeping with her complaints about severe pain. It is also significant that although she was able to have surgery, the impact of her injury on her ability to work was as well known by the defendants, as she was assigned less strenuous duties and rostered for fewer days, the judge noted. She rejected the explanation from the driver and found that he had in fact neglected his duty of care and was negligent in his operation of the bus. The court awarded Murray $6 million for pain, suffering, and loss of amenities, with interest at 3% per annum, handicap on the labor market of $2 million with no interest, future medical care of 140,000 Jamaican dollars, and US $43,500, and the special damages of $140,000 with interest from December 31, 2002. The case was heard on September 16, 2021, and the judgment handed down on November 4. JMEA says SOE necessary despite a likely impact on tourism. One of the country's main private sector groups has expressed the support for the states of emergency declared on Sunday in 7 police divisions, even while acknowledging that there might be negative implications in the short term for the tourism sector. The Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association on Monday afternoon said the states of emergency were a necessary response to the increase in murders. In an interview with the news, JMEA President John Mufud said despite the likelihood that the anti-crime measures will have a dampening effect on some areas of the economy, action had to be taken to prevent the crime situation from spiraling out of control.
Because it's clear that crime and violence were escalating, and actions need to be taken to control the situation. And right now, that is one fast method of bringing it down. We recognize that it might have some implications in terms of the tourism sector, but in the long term, tourism will be protected by lower crime rate, and this is unfortunately the price we pay when we have a society with a high crime rate.
State of emergency were declared on Sunday in St. James, Westmoreland, Hanover, as well as St. Andrews South, Kingston West, Kingston Central, and the Kingston East police divisions. Up to Friday, the 4 divisions in the corporate area accounted for 392 murders, 32% of the 1,240 homicides committed in Jamaica. The 3 western parishes saw 292 murders, or 22% of the national average. Prime Minister should have awaited outcome of court challenges before declaring new SOEs, says Hemmings. The Cornwall Bar Association has expressed a concern about the declaration of states of public emergency in 7 police divisions, while the legality of aspects of the measure is being challenged before the court. Michael Hemmings, president of the Cornwall Bar Association, says the Prime Minister should have waited on the outcome of the court proceedings. He says 2 matters, Everton Douglas against the Queen and Rasheen Clark against the Attorney General, are still to be settled in relation to the states of emergency. Mr. Hemmings, who is involved in the second matter alongside the Queen's Counsel Michael Hilton, said that case is scheduled to be before the full court on the 13th, 14th, and 15th of December. The Supreme Court last year ruled that the detention of 5 men under the states of emergency was unlawful and unconstitutional. Everton Douglas had been detained for 177 days, Nicholas Heath for 361 days, Courtney Hall for 395 days, Courtney Thompson was in custody for 365 days, and Gavin Noble for 431 days. Justice Bertram Morris, who handed down the ruling, said the detention times were remarkable given that none of the men had been charged with any offense, but the government had insisted that ruling does not prevent it from declaring states of emergency. Still, Mr. Hemmings believes that there is need for protocols regarding the detention of persons under the states of emergency.
The first is Everton Douglas against the Queen, and the second is one that I brought against the government, Rasheen Clark against the Attorney General. I appear in that matter with learned Queen's Counsel Michael Hilton. That matter is scheduled to be before the full court on the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th of December this year. The court have not made a ruling, obviously, because the matter is not yet before the court. The fact that the Prime Minister called for a state of emergency and the matters are before the court, there is no ruling as it relates to the constitutionality of the implementation of the state of emergency. So he is within his right to call a state of emergency. The question is whether or not it is the proper thing to do, or whether or not it is constitutional or unconstitutional, and that is yet to be determined by any court of law. Presently, the Barney Street police station is used as a quarantine site for detainees. So they are kept at Barney Street for a period of 14 days. Thereafter, they are transferred to the Montego Bay police station. The question is, where will persons be detained once they are held by the police under the state of emergency? Will they be kept at Barney Street as well and then transferred to the Montego Bay police station? Do we have adequate facilities to deal with that? Are they going to be placed under a makeshift tent or shed at the Freeport police station like what was done previously? What is going to happen? Because what we are concerned about is the period of review. In the last regulation that was accompanied by the announcing of a state of emergency, it indicated that the parish judge did not have the power to hear cases concerning persons detained under the state of emergency unless that person has been in custody for a period of 90 days or more. What is the period now? Does a parish judge have the power to hear matters concerning a detainee before the expiration of 90 days? How are we going to operate is of great concern to us.
Lila Ike reveals that she was raped and blackmailed due to her sexuality. After a series of cryptic tweets and an Instagram live video, fans of reggae singer Lila Ike took to social media on Sunday evening to show their support and pray for her safety. Ike, who is a member of Protege's Indignation Collective, revealed that she felt unsafe and was being blackmailed because of her sexuality. She added that the pictures of her and a female companion are at risk of being exposed and that she was molested and raped. Following the revelations which left the fans concerned, a member of Ike's team revealed on Monday morning that she is safe. Government changing approach to SOE detentions. Attorney General Marlene Mullahu Ford has said the government will be changing its approach to detaining people under the state of emergency. Last year, the Supreme Court ruled as unconstitutional the months-long detention of 5 men without a charge. The government is awaiting the hearing of its appeal of the ruling. However, Mrs. Mullahu Ford said changes are to be made to the regulations governing the operations of states of emergency to address the concerns about detentions. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has made it clear he will not be fettered by the debates on the legality of proceeding with the state of emergency. Speaking during Sunday's news conference, Mr. Holness stated that the crime situation appears to be a competition for cruelty, arguing that the country was experiencing an emergency.
You will see the time period that is permitted for preventive detention, where it is reasonably necessary to detain a person to prevent him or her from committing an offense, and the time period before a review is done. But the detention scheme under the regulations allow for a review of the circumstances in which the person is detained and to see whether there is reason for continued detention up to the end of the emergency period. But going forward, review of detainees will not only depend on the detainee making a request to the review tribunal. The review tribunal will do a periodic review. The law permits detention where it is reasonably necessary to prevent someone from committing an offense, and that will depend on what the assessment is on the ground.
In some of the communities that we have declared SOEs, the murder rate ranges from 47 per 100,000 to as high as somewhere in the region of over 100 per 100,000. How is that normal? How is that not an emergency? And should the government be crippled by an academic debate about the constitutionality of the measure while people in Jamaica are dying? What do I say to the family of that young man whose head was taken and kicked around? What does the opposition say to them? Do we not all have a responsibility to save lives?
You really can't fold your hand, and in taking action, it is not in contempt of any issue that is raised before the court, because you do know what amounts to contempt of court. But governments have to act. And so asking questions, debating the issues, those are quite fine. And we can only improve ourselves with the deeper interrogation of what needs to be done. But bear in mind that the government has to act, and the government is acting within the limits of the law. If and when the court makes pronouncements otherwise, we will revise, but we will still have to act and take into account those pronouncements and make corrective actions if need be.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.